I, 25 female, lived with my parents, 50 female and 55 male, because it's very close to my service and it's a costly area. It's been a week since I moved out, but I never needed to earlier and my parents didn't ask. So as time went on and I earned more, I put in air conditioning, made my room smart, as well as the house, Alexa, put an excellent shower in the guest bathroom, which I eventually added to my bedroom, and I bought quality furniture for my room, etc. My room turned out to be the best in the house because of my changes, and yes, I paid rent to my parents. Quite fat, by the way. It's been 3 months since they came to talk to me, saying it was time for me to move because they wanted to have their moment alone now, and I could live on my own. Of course, I agreed, after all, and I was just living there for ease and convenience. I found a house and needed to make some changes, so in order to not have to buy it when I have it, I replaced all the sockets, bulbs, switches, smart, and the shower with common ones. I paid for them all, and the increase in energy I paid too. I also removed the air conditioner and paid to plug the hole it left. Also, of course, I took all the furniture in my room and Alexa scattered around the house. My parents started complaining that I shouldn't take everything out as they were in everyday use. They were planning to move into the room that was mine, and with these changes I made my room worse, and the house in general too. It's just not smart. Everything I bought was quality. I said they asked me to move and I'm taking everything I bought because I needed them and had other expenses. I made a payment on the house, and these items were all bought by me, and all the increase in energy I had was paid only by me too, and that if they wanted to buy some, I could help search online, but I would take these items. They called me selfish because I made the house worse and removed these items in everyday use as they became accustomed to the smart home. They complained even more when I didn't want to leave the 65-inch smart TV in my room as a gift for them. I didn't leave it because it's new and it was too expensive. I moved a week ago, but they're still upset. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. The entitlement of your parents is on another level. What did they expect you to do, OP? Leave all the expensive stuff you bought while paying rent when they told you to leave their house? Your stuff, your money, your rules. Enjoy your new house. We've made enough to retire charging you rent, so get out and leave all your crap for us too. If you were in a regular non-family rental and your landlord asked you to move for some reason, you would take your items and return the property to the previous condition. So you just did the same thing in this situation. You paid rent to your parents. This makes you a tenant, and as one of those, when you move out, you take your stuff. I think your parents used you until you made the house better, and then decided to throw you out. They're jerks for assuming you'd leave the stuff you bought with your own money. Common use or not, they can buy smart devices and whatnot on their own if they want them that badly. You are the idiot. The TV and furniture sound reasonable, but you should have asked your parents about the AC. Maybe they could have compensated you for leaving the old one in, or they might have wanted to buy their own unit and use the existing holes. Replacing the light bulbs with random cheaper ones might also not be optimal because they might be unnecessary expenses if your parents would want different ones anyway. Also, maybe it would have been less work to just ask your parents for compensation for everything they want to keep and buy it new. Oh man, you are horrid. Absolutely, you are the idiot. First, you were there until 25, vamping off your parents' final days for your convenience, and then removing anything you had bought, despite subsidizing an unreasonable portion of your adult life. I feel for your parents. What a shame for them. My daughter, 18, graduated high school, and I hung a photo of her graduation party on the living room wall. She wants to go to a community college and will live with me and her stepdad. My husband recently earned his master's degree, and yesterday he showed me his graduation photo that he framed and prepared to hang. I asked where we would hang it, and he said the living room. I said, great, right next to Amy's graduation photo then. He said not next to it, but instead of it. I was puzzled. I asked why, and he said he didn't feel it was right to have his graduation photo, a master's degree, be hung next to a high school graduation photo, a high school degree. He said that both photos have different weight and value and suggested I take my daughter's photo down and hang his instead. I was fuming because he refused to let her photo hang anywhere near his, and he had claimed the entire wall. I refused and said that this photo had been here for months, and my daughter deserves to have it on display for encouragement. He got upset and said that I was making it a big deal and could instead use the hallway or something, but I refused. We argued about it, and he insisted on having her graduation photo be taken down and not hung on the same wall as his, due to the difference in degree value and weight. Also, he thought a high school photo wasn't hang-on wall worthy and called me inconsiderate of his feelings. Finally, he said it was disrespectful to him and his efforts and said that choosing this hill to die on was ridiculous. Am I the idiot for choosing this hill to die on? Not the idiot. I'd hang it right over the toilet where his attitude belongs. So every time he goes, he can be reminded of how much of a pompous idiot he is. I also have a master's degree. I would never be so big-headed to do something like that. Wow, has his masculinity always been this fragile? How old is this man? And why does he think he needs to compete with a teenager? Why is he jealous? This is so strange. Is he also a teenager who excelled so much that he earned his master's at 18? Even if that was the case, he doesn't get to remove your daughter's photo to replace it with his. He sounds like a total idiot. If you get a PhD, will you hang his master's photo in the closet or the basement? Of course he'd pitch a giant fit, and rightly so. Tell your husband that since he got his big boy master's degree, it's time to grow up and recognize that other people have milestones in their lives too, and that the weight and value of such things are not for him to determine. Something that, most people who've graduated elementary school have learned. Your husband just told you your daughter and her accomplishments are meaningless to him, and that she's so beneath him that she's not worthy of sharing wall space with his own. There are massive red flags. However, I will bet that this is not the first red flag. Hang up a copy of the divorce application next to his photo. My 18-year-old son, Eric, just graduated high school. I'm very proud of him because he has ADHD, and school has always been a struggle for him, but he's going to college and his future is promising. I was out with my two girlfriends. Both have children the same age as Eric. Well, I excused myself to the washroom, and right before I was about to go back into the room, I overheard one of them say that I must be so disappointed in Eric. Disappointed because he's not studying law or medicine, etc., like their kids. This got my attention, and I kept listening. They continued to talk about how he barely graduated, and then they made a few odd jokes about how Eric would probably follow in my footsteps and marry a rich older lady. Finally, they talked about my son's reputation and laughed about how he cares more about his face than his future, just like his mother. This hurt me a lot. I was heartbroken. Not only were they insulting me, but also my son. I walked into the room and they were silent, but acted as if they weren't just talking crap. So I didn't mention it and simply decided never to hang out with them ever again. But when I got home, my husband asked me if anything was wrong, and I just began to cry and told him everything. I've been friends with them for a year, and gosh, I don't even know. He was really angry. He had invited them and their families to go on a quick 2-day trip, and he called their husbands and canceled. When they asked why, he told them there was no way he was paying to take two bitter, mean girls that insulted his wife and son on vacation. Well, I got a call from the two, and they were really upset. They said that I needed to tell him to rethink his decision, and that they were just joking around because their kids were looking forward to the trip. I told them that I didn't want to, but they said that I should have talked to them instead of crying to my husband like a weak witch. I told them to screw off, and they replied, "This is exactly why we hate you. Wait, sorry, are you going to go cry to your husband again?" That stung a little, and now I'm wondering if I'm the idiot for not being straight up and crying to my husband instead. My sister agrees that I should have dealt with it myself and that I went too far telling my husband. I mean, it's my sister. I tell her everything. A lot of my previous friends also used to say similar things about me regarding my husband. So after a while, you start to wonder if you're the problem. Not the idiot. I'm just joking is the universal mantra of every idiot bully. You owe them nothing. They're not concerned about their actual friendship with you. They're worried that they lost out on the trip and that they've lost their good reputation. In almost all marriages, you should share with your husband everything. Girls legit just sound jealous of OP's husband. Notice how all their attacks and complaints revolve around OP interacting with her husband. They're just mad that she has a wonderfully supportive partner and they got exposed. So they can't take advantage of OP's husband now. OP, these aren't your friends. Who cares what they think? They insulted your son, called you a gold digger, and then what? They don't expect you to tell your husband what's up? Girl, they just still want your husband to do things for them. It doesn't matter that you cry to your husband about awful people. He's your partner. Just block them and never think about them again. You are a full-grown adult, and I don't understand why you even have to ask this question. You get to have boundaries. Not engaging with people who are cruel and insulting is a very reasonable boundary. Not going on vacation with people who hate you is a very reasonable boundary. You don't have to justify communicating with your husband to anyone, let alone these immature idiots or your gossipy, unsupportive sister. My female father found out that my mother had an affair many years ago with his brother when they were still together. My father became suspicious and pressured all his children to take a DNA test. I was the only one of the 4 who was not biological. This screwed up my relationship with my father. I visited him every weekend, and after the test results, he cut the visits. He always gave some money to his children, but for me, he only gave what he was obliged by law to do. All of my brothers got a car and a trip to another country, a gift divided in half by my parents. I only got a trip because that's what my mother could manage on her own. It hurt to see my brother, 1 year younger, get everything. I lost in 1 month a present, loving, and helpful father, and every time I pointed this out, he told me to understand how hard it was for him to see the fruit of my mother's betrayal and that she lied to him for years, taking advantage of the similarity between him and his brother. For over 5 years, he barely spoke to me, beyond the basics, and excluded me from everything. Parties. It hurt a lot. After 5 years, under the influence of my stepmother, he had more contact with me, but we were no longer the same. Our relationship has always been rocky after that. The situation. I'm getting married to my beautiful bride in a few months, and we're getting ready for the ceremony/party. My father insisted on giving funds, a lot, to help, and although I didn't want to, I did accept it as long as there were no strings attached. Somehow, I think one of my brothers, he found out that he wouldn't walk me down the aisle, and he had a meltdown. He said that this was our moment as we planned it when I was younger, and that it was his dream to walk his only daughter down the aisle. At some point, he talked about helping at the party, which was the trigger. I said he forfeited that right by setting me aside for 5 years for something I wasn't guilty of, so I prefer to go alone. He again began to say that I should understand his feelings, that it was a very difficult time for him, and that he accepted me. I exploded, saying that I didn't give a crap about his feelings because he just ignored that he had raised me for 17 years and then treated me like it was an obligation. He looked shocked, and then he left. My stepmother called me later, saying that I broke my father's heart doing and saying all this, and that he is human, he can make mistakes, and that he was trying his best to make up for the lost time. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your father took out his feelings of betrayal on an innocent child. He was the adult. You were the child. Yes, he was suffering, but you were still his responsibility, not just for stuff, but as a parent and for your mental and emotional health. He made a choice to abandon you when you needed him. That did damage he can't expect to disappear because he wanted to. He can't expect to have the rewards of good parenting when he was a bad parent to you during those years. Actions have consequences. I hate see it from my perspective people because they never see it from the perspective of others. They demand people give them so many chances, but refuse to understand their actions have consequences. Sure, yeah, the dad was going through a lot of crap in his life at the time, but he actively, emotionally destroyed a child for his own selfish reasons, and then demanded that the kid be suddenly fine with him because things were hard for him. Things were hard for OP, specifically because of him. He doesn't get to go unring that bell. That's solely on him and not you. I hope you have a great wedding and that this doesn't overshadow everything. My parents are terrible at managing money. When I, 27 female, was little, my father gambled away all the savings, about $100,000 in risky penny stocks, which got wiped out in 2008, and we were forced to move into a single bedroom in a house for the three of us. Then my mom fell for an MLM, and you can imagine what happened. They lost the down payment to the house they were saving for. I begged them not to sign up for it since I saw it was a scam and showed them evidence it was, and they just laughed at me and ignored me. They lost about $28,000 from that. Then recently, they fell for a college sign-up scam and lost $32,000. They weren't signing up for college. They just needed a loan and tried to go through a private broker who promised to get them a school loan that they could use on whatever they wanted. I went with them to see this broker and told them it was a scam, and they ignored me. So basically, they were trying to scam the government and got scammed instead. I tried to pry the pen away from my father's hands when I got desperate as he was writing down his bank info and SSA, and he screamed at me that I was embarrassing him and did it anyway. Again, they lost money, and now they're homeless because their credit is crap, and they can barely afford even crappy apartments. They probably can't get that money back since they have little documentation on the broker and what he promised. So now they live in their car and are begging me for money. I have about $100,000 saved, waiting to buy a house, and they know about it because I stupidly told them I was saving for a house, and now they're calling me and showing up at my apartment asking for money. They also want to move in the meantime, but my roommate and I agreed that visitation from friends or family is max 1 week to prevent resentment, and if my parents move in, they'll probably refuse to move out. They're going to food pantries, and honestly, I can't find it in myself to be that sympathetic since they don't listen to me until they need my money. Am I the idiot for not helping my parents when they're homeless? Not the idiot. Do not give them money. You know exactly what's going on. You know what'll happen. You cannot save them from themselves. They are a bottomless pit, and they will bleed you dry and still end up homeless. Please don't give them a cent. Don't let them through your door. Don't do laundry for them. Don't take them food. I've seen so many situations where kids who have worked hard to overcome their upbringings have been sucked back in and have ended up stressed and with no money. You can probably tell it makes my blood pressure increase just to read your story. Make sure your credit is on lockdown. Parents will typically have everything they need to open an account in their children's names. However, if you don't give them anything, and you shouldn't, they may take it upon themselves to get something from you. Lock it down. I'm sorry, but your instincts are right on the money. Your parents require help, but not the kind of help they want from you. For now, you're relatively safe, thanks to your rule with your roommate. But when you get your own house, I'd consider not giving them your address to avoid harassment. They've ruined their lives. Don't let them do the same to yours.